I got this book because I heard Caroline Fleck on a podcast. Uh, this book, I think, is pretty much this year release, but it immediately caught my attraction because validation I've tried to practice, not exactly in the way she kind of shares it and gives a system or a process on how to practice validation, which is the beauty of the book, essentially. There's some I guess fluff or something, some stuff that I didn't exactly enjoy, I guess, in the end, when it gets to the end. But our system was great, and how she essentially goes through how to practice validation. Her whole framework is called ACCEPT, ACCEPT, and then each letter means something, right? So more of that in the book. Pretty much. I would rather you read the book because it's definitely worth reading, especially if you haven't practiced. Like, for example, E is emoting. Emoting is more, or, kind of mirroring the other person, essentially copying the other person, which I learned a long time ago. I don't practice it a lot, but one of the things is rephrasing what the other person has said to make sure you understand them, which means you get them. You understand what they're saying. Not rephrasing doesn't mean you're saying word to word, repeating what's been said. No, you're repeating what you understood so that you make sure that you understood what they're saying. That's way different than just copying somebody what they said and just repeating. Now you can do that, there's simple techniques like, you know, whenever the conversation is going on, you just say the last sentence or last phrase as a question or exclamation, and then they'll keep repeating because in the sense that they will go further. That's simple technique to make sure that at least they understand that you heard them. So anyway, that's there are techniques like that to make sure people know that you're listening to them. But the biggest thing about validation is it's truly trying to understand the other person. And by that, you show them how much you care by validating somebody's feelings, opinions, whether you agree with them or not is very, very important. You agreeing, whether even if you don't agree with them, the whole point is you're trying to understand what's being said, what they're feeling, how they're perceiving things, right? That doesn't mean their perception, thoughts, or actions are correct. It doesn't mean you're saying that. What you're saying is you do understand what they're saying, what they're feeling, and then also understand based on their experience why they're feeling that way. There's a huge difference. And that's what validation is. That's what Caroline Fleck goes through. Um, some of the examples I felt like it was kind of out there, getting into the whole her cat story, stuff like that, on how it helped her be better validator. Maybe it does, maybe if other cat, maybe. But her point was like, you got to go into the other person's world to understand what they're feeling, to understand why they're feeling that way. And here's where most of us, including me, at least previously, used to miss it. We all have a model of our world. And whatever, based on the model, whatever we do, it's justifiable. And the problem many of us get into when we're talking to another person and then thinking they're crazy or doing something bad or something wrong, something silly, stupid, is the fact that we're looking at their actions or words from our point of view, model. Again, there's a difference in, understanding where they're coming from to agreeing with them. I'm not talking about agreeing or saying their actions or words are right. We're talking about why and how, why they're doing it, right? Why they're doing it, because it's based on as their whatever the feeling, thoughts, past programming, mental programming they have, they're doing that. And that's what validation is about. It's truly trying to understand what they're feeling and what thoughts, actions, emotions are getting them in that state. That state, whatever they're feeling or whatever they're acting on, whatever they're getting, emotional about is based on that and understanding that, truly trying to understand where they're coming from. And that is a game changer for any relationship. And that's what she's talking about. Whether it's friends, whether it's relationships, whether it's kids, business associations. Once you truly validate somebody's feelings and thoughts, it's like a gift you give them. Because just go think of it for yourself. If somebody validates your feelings as valid, that automatically completely like changes how you feel about the other person because they actually understood you. So that's the whole point, giving that gift out to others. And that's what Caroline kind of teaches. She got it from essentially, she's a psychologist. I guess she's a therapist, so on and so forth. And the whole validation concept came from DBT system. I forgot that what's D is called. It's basically behavioral therapy, BT. Dialectic, I think dialectical. Like I got to go back, look at, Google it, I guess. Dialectic behavioral therapy or something. And from there, the part of it is validation. And then that's what she uses extensively in her practice to essentially get people to connect with her, deeply, right? Anyway, highly recommend validation book. Practicing it, you can practice it regularly, essentially, you know, just to remember to practice, right? More you practice, more you get better at it. Um, I don't know if you can, the framework she gives is great, which probably you have to write it down and constantly do it, practice multiple times. But if you have done other communication courses and learned to listen really well, probably validation comes easier to you. Uh, at least for me, I felt it a little bit more easier these days for me. I still not great at it. I would say maybe 25%, 30% good at it. Not always great at it. I truly try to understand other people, get where they are, but many times, the problem is you get stuck in your own model and think like, how can they think that way, right? That's the problem. Instead of trying to truly understand where they're coming from, why and how they got there, right? Anyway, highly recommend reading Validation by Caroline Fleck.